And we're back again at Judges chapter 19. I think we left off at verse 5. And it came to pass on the fourth day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, Comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way. Notes. In other words, have some breakfast before you go. Verse 6. And they sat down and did eat and drink, both of them together, for the damsel's father had said unto the man, Be content, I pray you, and tarry all night, and let your heart be merry. Verse 7. And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him, therefore he lodged there again. And he arose early in the morning on the fifth day to depart. And the damsel's father said, Comfort your heart, I pray you. And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat, both of them. In other words, he stayed there 5 days. Verse 9. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draws toward evening, I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day grows to an end. Lodge here, that your heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early on your way, that you may go home. Notes. In other words, he's trying to get him to stay yet another night. Verse 10. But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem, and there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the servant said unto his master, Come, I pray you, and let us turn into the city of the Jebusites, and lodge in it. And his master said unto him, We will not turn aside hither into the city of the Gentile, that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah. Notes. Now, Gibeah is actually a suburb of Jerusalem. He's saying he doesn't want to go to the Gentile areas. Verse 13. And he said unto his servant, Come and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. Notes. Now that's talking about the tribe of Benjamin, not just an individual. Verse 15. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he set him down in the street of the city, for there was no man who took them into his house to lodging. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at evening, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he journeyed in Gibeah, but the men of the place were Benjaminites. Notes. The absence of the common rites of hospitality towards strangers was a sign of the degraded character of the men of Gibeah. In those days, there were very few inns or hotels or whatnot, and consequently travelers stayed in people's homes. Just an example of this would be found in Luke chapter 11, verse 5 and onward. Anyways, verse 17. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, Where are you going? And from where have you come? And he said unto him, We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I. And I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but I am now going to the house of the Lord, and there is no man who receives me to his house. Notes. In other words, he's saying, no man gives me lodging, and the house of the Lord probably refers to the tabernacle at Shiloh. Verse 19. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me, and for your handmaid, and for the young man which is with your servants. There is no want for anything. Notes. In other words, he's not going to be a burden to anyone because I have my own food and this and that and whatnot. Verse 20. And the old man said, Peace be with you. Howsoever, let all your wants lie upon me, only lodge not in the street. So he brought him into his house and gave provender unto his asses, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink. Verse 22. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man who came into your house, that we may know him. Notes. This is rather disgusting. Now, when the word Belial appears, in every case that I've actually looked at it, it basically means to be worthless. So certain sons of worthless individuals, well, that's what Belial actually means, worthless individuals. These guys were homosexuals. It would have been better for the Levite to have spent the night with the heathen Jebusites than with the so-called children of God. For the latter had already become viler than the former, although Joshua was not long dead. The singular remembrance of the whole narrative to that in Genesis chapter 19 suggests that the Israelites, by their contact with the accursed Canaanites, had reduced them to the level of Sodom and Gomorrah. The illustration given in this chapter proclaims the wisdom of the command to destroy utterly these workers of abomination. Now, some sins are far worse than others, and the sin of homosexuality is actually one of the most vile. It is the only sin that has occasioned the destruction of entire cities, and we speak, of course, of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were done so instantly by God. The United States, and especially this country, because of the great gospel light it has been given, will ultimately face the judgment of God in its sanctioning of homosexual marriages, so-called. The sin itself is bad enough. However, to legitimize it, which this nation is doing, will ultimately bring upon our heads the wrath of God, and rightfully so. Verse 23. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them, and said unto them, No, my brethren, no, I pray you, do not do so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into my house, do not this folly. Verse 24, Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble you them, and do with them what seems good unto you, but unto this man do not such a vile thing. Notes. Now, Lot's last night in Sodom gives a similar illustration of the loathsome depths to which men sink when they cease to retain God in their knowledge. Romans chapter 1, verse 18 through 32. Anyways, verse 25. But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her, and abused her all night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Notes. Now, this is despicable. How despicable was her husband who allowed such a thing to have gone on? Verse 26. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell down at the door of the man's house where her Lord was, till it was light. And her Lord rose up in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman his concubine was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon her threshold. And he said unto her, Up, and let us be going. But none answered. Then the man took her upon an ass, and the man rose up and gat him unto his place. Notes. Now, can't you just tell what a loving husband this person was? Can you see just how vile things have actually gotten for these people? The woman died from the abuse that she had taken, and it happened all night long. God help these people. That's disgusting. That's vile. That is... You should have a bad taste in your mouth just from reading something like this. This is how low the people of God had sank. Anyways, we must pick up in chapter 19, verse 29 of the book of Judges. Thank you, and God bless.